This video is a fan-made story based on the experiences of an unknown UNSC Marine during the fall of Reach. Story by Koki Monster. Enjoy.
I remember the day I finished my training. After months of grueling drills, sleepless nights, and endless weapons tests, I'd finally made it. I was officially a UNSC Marine, stationed on Reach, one of the safest places in the galaxy, or so we thought. We heard whispers of the war, of the Covenant hitting colonies hard. We never thought they'd attack Reach. That all changed in an instant. The first thing I noticed was the explosions in the distance. We thought it was just another training exercise, until the alarm started blaring. Then the message came over the comms. Covenant forces inbound. This is not a drill. We rushed to gear up, adrenaline kicking in as we tried to make sense of what was happening. The ground trembled beneath our feet as plasma blasts rained down on the base. Before we could even react, banshees were swooping down, firing at everything that moved. And then, in the middle of the chaos, I saw them. Dark shapes falling from the sky at breakneck speed. At first, I didn't know what they were. But when those pods hit the ground and burst open, I realized ODSTs, hell jumpers. They don't just send in ODSTs unless things are really bad. And if they were here, it meant we were in deeper than we thought. We all knew things were bad when the ODSTs showed up, but we still had a job to do. The rest of us fresh out of training Marines were told to join up with them, help form a defense line, and try to retake some of the areas the Covenant had already overrun. It wasn't much of a plan, but it was all we had. The ODSTs led the charge, and we followed, doing everything we could to push the Covenant back. Plasma fire was everywhere, shields flaring, debris flying, and the smell of burnt metal filled the air. Every corner we turned, there were more enemies waiting for us. Grunts, jackals, and elites, all ready to wipe us out. At first, it seemed like we were making some progress. The ODSTs were unstoppable, cutting through the Covenant like they'd been doing this their whole lives. We managed to retake a few buildings, but it didn't last. The Covenant was relentless. We walked right into an ambush. Plasma mortars started raining down, and elites flanked us from both sides. The ODST tried to hold the line, but even they were getting torn apart. I saw one of them, a guy I thought was invincible, go down right in front of me, plasma scorching his armor. Then another and another. The sight of the ODSTs falling one by one hit hard. If they couldn't hold, what chance did the rest of us have? We were trapped, pinned down with no way out. There were barely a handful of us left. The Covenant kept pushing, getting closer and closer. My hands were shaking, my rifle almost empty. It felt like everything was collapsing around us, like no matter what we did, we were doomed. I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was the fear, the exhaustion, or just plain desperation. But I made a choice right then and there, one I still don't like to think about. I ran away. I didn't look back. I could hear the sounds of my squad still fighting, still trying to hold out, but I couldn't do it anymore. I just ran. The Covenant were everywhere, and no matter how fast I ran, it felt like they were right on my heels. I didn't even have time to think. Just survive. I ducked behind some wreckage. I could hear them getting closer, their guttural voices echoing off the walls. I was cornered. I knew it. There was nowhere else to go. I crouched behind a piece of a collapsed building, trying not to make a sound. One wrong move and they would find me. I watched as their shadows passed just feet away from where I was hiding. My heart was in my throat, and I could barely keep my hands from shaking. I thought that was it. This was where I'd die. And then I saw it. Through the cracks in the debris, I saw a massive ship taking off in the distance. It was huge, probably one of our last remaining carriers leaving the planet. I didn't know at the time, but I would later find out it was the Pillar of Autumn. I could see it lifting off, flames from its engines lighting up the sky as it punched through the atmosphere. And then there was a brief silence. That was when things changed. The Covenant soldiers around me suddenly started moving, rushing in that direction. It was like someone flipped a switch. 1 second they were hunting me down. The next, they were all running toward that distant battle. The sound of gunfire erupted not long after, echoing through the ruins. But it was strange. It didn't sound like the usual chaos of a firefight. No, it sounded like one gun, just one, firing over and over again. But whatever it was, it had every single Covenant soldier running toward it. I couldn't believe it. I still don't understand how one person or one gun could draw that kind of attention, but it did. They all went after it, every last one of them. And in that moment, it saved my life. I stayed hidden for what felt like forever, listening to that single gun echo in the distance. It was like nothing I'd ever heard before. Eventually, when the coast was clear, I snuck out and found my way off reach, but not without the guilt that weighed on me. I ran, I hid, but someone else, whoever they were, stood their ground and fought. He didn't run. I made it off reach. I wonder if he did. Maybe he's the one who deserved to escape, not me.